Picture this, December 2025, a freezing gym in Durham, North Carolina. The banners of past Olympic glory hang like silent judges from the rafters. Red, white, and blue jerseys are folded in perfect stacks, waiting to be claimed by the chosen few. The air smells like ambition, hairspray, and the faint metallic tang of new fabric. In the center of the room stands Caitlyn Clark, hoodie zipped high, ponytail swinging like a battle flag. She's finally here. The invitation she bled for, the one that was denied once already. Cameras aren't rolling, phones are supposed to be off, but every single person in that locker room knows history is about to get messy. A Team USA staffer walks forward holding two jerseys. One is pristine, untouched, legendary. The other is number 17. 17. A number that means absolutely nothing to the girl who turned 22 into a religion. The staffer smiles the tight, practiced smile of someone delivering bad news they've been told to dress up as routine. Caitlyn, we've assigned you 17 for the camp. Tradition. You understand. Seniority on the national team is sacred. The room goes dead. You could hear a wristband drop. Caitlyn doesn't scream. She doesn't throw the jersey. She just looks at the number, then at the staffer, then at the head coach standing 10 feet away, arms folded, like a bouncer guarding the gates of Olympus. And in the calmest voice you've ever heard from a 23-year-old who just got publicly stripped of her identity, she says the four words that are about to burn the entire power structure to the ground. I'm not wearing that. Gasps ripple like a wave. A veteran in the corner actually drops her coffee. Phones that were definitely supposed to be off start glowing under benches. Someone whispers, "Did she just?" Another voice, younger, prouder, answers, "Yeah, she did." Because this isn't about two digits on polyester. This is about every girl who was ever told to shrink, to wait her turn, to smile politely. While the gatekeepers decide what parts of her get to come inside, number 22 isn't just Caitlyn Clark's brand. It's the battle cry of a generation that finally learned how to say no. And in that frozen second, with the coaches' faces turning the color of storm clouds, Caitlyn Clark didn't just reject a jersey. She rejected every invisible rule that ever tried to tell her who she was allowed to be. The staffer stammers. The head coach steps forward, ready to remind everyone who still thinks they run this sport. But something has already shifted in the room. Something electric, something unstoppable. Because the girl they tried to humble just drew a line in permanent ink across the entire future of women's basketball. And the world outside those gym doors is about to find out exactly what happens when you tell Caitlyn Clark she can't be herself. You have to understand what this camp really is. It's not just another December practice. It's the first official gathering after the 2025 Olympic heartbreak, the one where Caitlyn Clark, the biggest draw in the history of women's basketball, was mysteriously left off the roster, while the games shattered viewership records anyway, because millions tuned in hoping to see her anyway. Now, 6 months later, the invitation finally came, quiet, late, almost like an afterthought, and every single woman in that Durham facility knows the subtext. This is the redemption tour. The chance to bring the prodigy home. The moment the old guard was supposed to embrace the future. Except the future just walked in wearing street clothes and a smile that could sell out arenas in 7 seconds flat. And the old guard greeted her with a folded number 17 like it was a participation trophy. This isn't some sleepy training camp. This is the runway to the 2026 FIBA World Cup. The proving ground for who gets to wear USA across their chest when the whole planet is watching. Billions in new television money are on the line, sponsorships that final. Treat the women's game like the juggernaut it's become, and every brand on Earth is begging for one player, one number, one silhouette that makes little girls in every zip code scream until their throats give out. That silhouette is 22. That scream belongs to Caitlyn, and yet here we are, watching powerful adults in warm-ups decide that the single most recognizable brand in American sports has to be rebranded on arrival because tradition, because seniority, because some unwritten law says the throne has to stay empty until the queens already wearing crowns decide you're allowed to sit. The stakes aren't just Olympic gold anymore. They're cultural. They're generational. They're about whether women's basketball finally gets to keep the stars it births, or whether the same gatekeepers who kept the arenas half empty for decades get to keep clipping wings the second they grow too bright. You can feel it in the room. The way the younger players won't make eye contact with the staff. The dot. Veterans shift their weight like they're standing on cracking ice. Everyone knows what happens if Caitlyn walks. The ratings plummet. The new fans vanish. The revolution that packed 20,000-seat buildings and turned highlight reels into TikTok religions stalls out before it ever really begins. And everyone also knows what happens if she stays and swallows this. The message is instant and brutal. No matter how many records you shatter, no matter how many little brown and black and immigrant daughters tattoo your number on their arms because you made them believe they belong. The second you step into the sacred circle, you still have to kneel. Caitlyn Clark doesn't kneel. She stands there, hoodie sleeves pushed up, scars from last season's battles still visible on her arms, staring at a piece of cloth that was supposed to be her coronation robe and is now a surrender flag. And in that moment, with every phone in the building secretly recording, with every future on the line, she makes the choice that will either crown her forever or exile her from the only team that's supposed to represent all of us. She looks the staffer dead in the eye, then the head coach, then the entire silent room, and says the sentence that just rewrote the power script faster than any Logo 3 ever could. Give me my number, or I'm gone. The air leaves the gym like someone pulled the plug on the world. And somewhere outside those doors, America is about to discover that the girl they tried to humble is the one holding the match that's about to burn the whole outdated playbook to the ground. Let's pull the camera back and meet the real villains of this story. Because every empire that tries to dim a rising sun has architects, and there's where championship rings and clipboards like armor. At the head of the table stands the old guard, women who bled for this program when the gyms were empty and the checks bounced. They earned their flowers, no question. Gold medals stacked like poker sea. Hall of Fame jackets, the right to speak in that calm, terrifying tone that makes rookies shrink. They are legends. And legends, darling, can be the most dangerous people on earth when someone new starts writing bigger chapters. Cheryl Reeve cuts the sharpest silhouette, eyes that have stared down entire dynasties, a smirk that says she's already 3 moves ahead. Next to her, committee voices whisper the same tired gospel. We don't do individual brands here. We do USA. Translation: we decide what your name is allowed to mean once you cross our threshold. They've been singing that hymn for decades, and it worked when the sport was small enough to control. But the sport isn't small anymore. Caitlyn turned it into a continent, and continents don't fit inside the old borders. Watch how they move. Watch the quiet meetings inside offices where locker room chemistry becomes code for keeping the hierarchy intact. Watch the way they froze when Caitlyn's name first exploded across ESPN. Ticker tapes, how they smiled for cameras while privately calculating how much light was too much for one white girl from Iowa to carry without eclipsing the sun they spent 20 years building. Remember the Olympic roster snub? That wasn't an oversight. That was a warning shot. A message delivered in the loudest silence women's basketball has ever known. You can sell every ticket, break every record, make billionaires richer than ever. But step into our house and you still wait your turn like every black and brown pioneer before you had to wait theirs. Only this time, the audience revolted. Sponsors revolted. Little girls with braided hair and fresh Sharpies revolted. And the old guard realized, too late, that the game had outgrown their grip. So they extended the invitation, grudgingly, strategically, with the secret plan to sand down the edges the second she walked in. Take the number, dim the brand. Remind her that 22 might rule the W, but in the red, white, and blue cathedral, seniority still sits on the throne. They honestly believed one conversation would be enough. One raised eyebrow, one quiet, "this is how we've always done it," and the kid would fold. Because that's what kids used to do. That's what the system trained generations to do. Say thank you for the crumbs and pray the next batch is bigger. They never imagined a girl who grew up watching her own highlights on loop, who learned that gratitude and obedience are not the same thing, who looked at their sacred traditions and saw handcuffs dressed up as heritage. They never imagined Caitlyn Clark would look them in the eye and choose herself. Right now, in back rooms across Durham, phones are blowing up. Assistants are drafting statements they hope they'll never have to release. Veterans who once rolled their eyes at the hype are suddenly quiet, because even they can feel the ground tilting. The old guard built a fortress out of loyalty and sacrifice, but they forgot one tiny detail: fortress only work when the people inside still believe the walls are there to protect them. And Caitlyn just lit the first torch. When she said no to 17, she wasn't just rejecting a jersey. She was rejecting the entire quiet agreement that kept women's basketball playing small, even while the world begged it to grow huge. The emperors have no clothes, and the whole kingdom just heard the first rip. But let's talk about the girl who just set the torch to their fortress. Because Caitlyn Clark didn't stumble into that Durham gym by accident. She was forged for this exact moment, the way a diamond is forged by 1,000,000 years of pressure and heat until it can cut through anything. Start in West Des Moines, Iowa, where cornfields stretch farther than dreams usually reach. A little white girl with a ponytail and a chip on her shoulder the size of the Mississippi learns early that if you want to be seen, you have to shoot from places nobody else dares. Her dad nails a hoop to the garage at age 5. And by 8, she's draining threes while the boys laugh, until the laughing stops because the ball keeps going in. High school comes with a cruel twist. Her travel team already has a 22. So they hand her 11 and tell her to deal with it. She hates it, feels naked without her digits. But she swallows the anger, turns the new number into a warning label. I'll dominate so hard, you'll wish you'd given me the one I wanted. She averages 40 and still gets overlooked by blue blood colleges because she's just a shooter. Translation: she's white, she's from Iowa, she doesn't fit the prototype they're comfortable selling. Then Iowa calls, the one school that sees the supernova inside the quiet girl. She picks 22 the second she signs, reclaims it like a birthright stolen at birth. And from the first practice, she starts writing scripture with that number on her back. 40-point triples, no-look dimes, gains so electric the fire marshal has to be notified. Carver Hawkeye becomes church, and 2 becomes the gospel. But the real forging happens off the court. Every she's overrated tweet, every analyst who says she only succeeds because of the rules, every quiet room where coaches whisper she's not ready for the pros, she collects it all like kindling. The groin injury that shelves her rookie playoffs, she rehabs in silence while the internet debates if the hype was a mirage. The Olympic snub that leaves her watching from her couch while her peers win gold, she screenshots every "see, we told you she didn't belong" take and tapes them inside her locker like target practice. She learns something the old guard never had to. When the world keeps trying to erase you, the only defense is to become undeniable. So she does. She turns the WNBA into her personal runway show. Sold-out arenas in cities that used to cancel women's games. Little black and brown girls in the nosebleeds wearing 22. Because for the first time, someone who looks nothing like them made the league feel like it could belong to everybody. Immigrant moms holding signs in broken English. "My daughter shoots like Caitlyn now." Trans kids messaging her thank you notes because when she says basketball is for everybody, she actually means it. 22 stops being a number. It becomes a passport, a permission slip, a middle finger to every gatekeeper who ever told a girl her story had to wait in line. And through every record, every slight, every sold-out fever dream, Caitlyn stays scarily calm. No tantrums, no subtweets. Just that quiet Midwestern steel that smiles while it sharpens the blade. She learns poise the way other people learn dance routines, because she knows the moment is coming when the camera will be merciless and the old guard will expect her to flinch. They have no idea the flinch was beaten out of her years ago. So when she steps into that Durham gym in December 2025, hoodie sleeves pushed up, scars still pink from last season's war, she isn't just the leading scorer in league. History walking in. She's every little girl who was ever told to wait her turn. She's every overlooked town, every mispronounced name, every dream they tried to shrink to fit their comfort zone. She's the living proof that when you keep your fire long enough, one day you get close enough to burn the whole damn rulebook. And right now, in a quiet locker room that still smells like new paint and old power, the girl they tried to humble is about to remind them exactly who she's been all along. Section 5. Debate escalation. The gym lights feel hotter now, like someone cranked the voltage just to watch sweat betray nerves. Caitlyn stands in the center circle, hoodie half-zipped, arms loose at her sides. The calm of a girl who has already buried bigger demons than this room can summon. Around her, the circle tightens. 3 coaches, 2 staffers. 1 veteran player who suddenly looks like she'd rather be anywhere else. Cheryl Reeve steps first, voice low and lethal. The tone that once sounded, "All stars apologize for breathing too loud." Caitlyn, this isn't college. This isn't Indiana. Numbers are earned here, not carried in like luggage. The word luggage lands like a slap, meant to shrink her whole empire into something childish and disposable. A ripple of silence. Phones under benches stop recording. Even the sneakiest weakers know this part is sacred. Caitlyn tilts her head, almost gentle. "I've been earning it since I was 8, coach." The luggage is full. The veteran shifts her weight, eyes flicking to the floor. Someone coughs. The air is so thick you could dribble it. Another assistant jumps in, softer but sharper. The good cop routine they've perfected over decades. 17 is available. It's a fresh start. Clean slate. Nobody's trying to erase what you built. We're just asking you to build it here with us. The right way. Caitlyn smiles. Small, sad, devastating. The right way is letting me walk in as the same person who filled every seat you now sell out. Anything else is erasure with better branding. A collective inhale. You can actually hear reputations cracking. Reeves' jaw flexes. She tries the final card, the one that always worked before. This is Team USA. You wear what we give you, or you don't wear USA at all. That's the deal since 1976. You don't get to rewrite 50 years because TikTok told you you're special. The room waits for the flinch, for the head dip, for the quiet, yes ma'am. That every prodigy before her eventually whispered. It never comes. Instead, Caitlyn takes one slow step forward, close enough that Reeve has to look up now, and the power flips like a fast break in transition. Her voice stays soft, but every syllable lands like a logo 3 at the buzzer. 50 years ago, the gyms were empty, and the world didn't care. I was 8 when I decided I wouldn't let that happen again. So no, coach, I'm not rewriting your history. I'm writing the part where it finally includes the rest of us, exactly as we are. Dead. Silence. The veteran's eyes glisten. She's remembering her own rookie year, her own swallowed pride. A younger player bites her lip so hard it bleeds. Someone's phone screen times out, and the sudden black reflection in the dark feels like a funeral for the old rules. Reeves' face cycles through red, white, and a shade of purple no flag ever flew. She opens her mouth for the kill shot, the one that ends careers. But Caitlyn is already turning. Hoodie sleeves pushed higher. Scars catching the light like metals. She walks 3 steps toward the exit, every footfall echoing like a countdown, then pauses without looking back. I'll be in the weight room. When you decide whether USA stands for unity or uniformity, you know where to find me. The door doesn't slam. She just lets it close softly behind her. The quietest power move in the history of power moves. And in that vacuum, with the most feared coaching staff in America suddenly staring at their own reflection in an empty key, the entire future of the program hangs on one question nobody dared ask out loud until right now. What happens when the kid they tried to break turns out to be the one holding all the pieces? 2 hours later, the gym is empty except for the ghosts and the fluorescent hum. Caitlyn walks back in alone, hoodie gone, practice jersey untucked, number 22 sharpied on the chest in bold black strokes because the equipment staff suddenly couldn't find a single 17 in the entire building. Funny how that happens. The coaches are waiting like statues carved from bad decisions. Phones are now openly recording. The younger players form a quiet half moon behind Caitlyn. Loyalty finally louder than fear. Reeves starts strong, voice booming off the rafters. This isn't your personal playground, Clark. You don't dictate terms to the United States of America. Caitlyn just smiles, pulls a folded sheet from her waistband, and starts reading, slow, deliberate. Every word a dagger dipped in receipts. June 2025. USA Basketball reports 412% increase in youth girls registrations directly attributed to one player. That player bought you 3 new practice facilities with her name on the donor list none of you ever thanked. September 2025. WNBA regular season ratings up 271%. Merchandise revenue up 1,200%. 68% of all jerseys sold league-wide are one number. That number paid for the private jet that flew you here. Coach, December 2025. 22 million little girls searched how to shoot like Caitlyn Clark on YouTube in 1 month. Not one of them typed how to wait your turn like Cheryl told her to. She lets the paper float to the floor like a dead treaty. Reeve opens her mouth. Nothing comes out. Caitlyn steps closer, voice dropping to that deadly whisper that already ended 1,000 debates online. You want unity? Unity starts when you admit the house was on fire and I was the one who brought the water. You want respect? Respect looks like handing me the number I bled for instead-o. Hiding behind tradition like it's a shield for ego. Because the second you decided my identity was negotiable, you stopped protecting Team USA and started protecting your feelings. A rookie in the back actually gasps, period, under her breath. Caitlyn turns to the circle of teammates, now openly nodding, eyes shining. This jersey isn't fabric. It's every kid who ever got told their name was too hard, their skin was too dark, their shot was too far. Their dreams were too loud. I don't wear 22 because I'm special. I wear it because they need to see someone fight for the right to stay whole when the system begs you to break. She picks up the Sharpied practice jersey, holds it high like a battle standard. So here's the new deal. You can give me the real one, the one that belongs to every little girl watching this, thinking maybe she has to shrink to fit your table. Or I walk out that door and take the future with me. And trust me, the future has been practicing her exit for years. Silence. The kind that happens right before empires fall. Then, from the back, a single phone screen lights up. Then another. Then 10. Hashtags already forming. Hashtag give Clark 22. Let her be whole. Hashtag the future wears 22. The head equipment manager appears in the doorway, holding a pristine red, white, and blue jersey. Number 22, gleaming like it was waiting for this exact moment to be born. He doesn't hand it to the coaches. He walks straight past them and places it in Caitlyn's hands. The gym erupts. Not cheers, something deeper, something that sounds like relief and revolution having a baby. Caitlyn slips the jersey over her head slow, reverent, the way queens accept crowns they forge themselves. The fabric settles on her shoulders like it was homesick. She looks up, eyes wet but unbreakable, and says the line that will be stitched on t-shirts by sunrise. I didn't come here to fit your tradition. I came here to become the one you'll never break again. And somewhere in America, a million be. Lights flick on as little girls pull their own 22s out of drawers and hold them to their chests, knowing for the first time that belonging doesn't mean becoming someone else. The old guard stands frozen, watching the future they tried to delay, walk right past them, wearing the exact number they swore she couldn't have. Because some fires don't ask permission before they change the world. By midnight, the gym is dark, but the internet is a supernova. First clip hits at 11:47 p.m. 30 grainy seconds of Caitlyn sliding that 22 over her head, while the coaching staff stands like statues who just realized the museum is closing forever. No caption needed, just 3 fire emojis and the words, "She didn't ask, she claimed." Within 6 minutes, hashtag #GiveClark22 is the #1 trend worldwide, above a presidential scandal and a surprise Beyoncé drop. Within 20, it's translated into 17 languages. Little girls in Manila, Sao Paulo, Lagos, and Des Moines are posting mirror selfie, drugstore 22s, with captions like, Tonight I learned my name is non-negotiable. Serena Williams tweets a single photo. Her holding her daughter, Olympia, both in vintage Iowa 22s, with the line, "Some crowns you don't wait to be handed." 1 million likes in 9 minutes. LeBron drops a voice note that sounds like he's been crying. I watched my little girl watch Caitlyn, and I swear, Jury stood taller. That's bigger than basketball. Aja Wilson, the actual reigning MVP, who could have played the jealousy card, instead posts a story of herself slow clapping in her kitchen at 2 a.m. Y'all tried to dim the lights so the rest of us could shine quieter. She just turned the whole arena into daylight. Respect. Corporate America wakes up terrified and thrilled. Nike quietly changes tomorrow's billboard campaign from "Just Do It" to "Just Be It," with Caitlyn mid-celebration, 22 blazing. Target's website crashes when every youth 22 in stock sells out in 43 minutes. Etsy printer's star. Running out of ink at 4 a.m. because moms are ordering custom shirts that say, "My daughter doesn't wait her turn either." Meanwhile, the villains are bleeding followers by the thousands. One assistant coach disables comments after someone stitches her old Teen First speech with the gym footage and adds the caption, "Team first, ego never." The ratio is biblical. Former players who stayed politely quiet for decades suddenly find their voices. Sue Bird goes live, eyes red, and says the sentence nobody ever dared in real time. I wish I'd had half her courage when they made me change who I was to belong. By dawn, murals are already going up. Brooklyn, Chicago, Atlanta. Caitlyn in the new USA 22, arms wide, with the words, "She kept her name so we could keep ours." And in Durham, the coaching staff meets in a room that feels 10 degrees colder than yesterday. Someone leaks the agenda. Agenda item 1 is listed simply as damage control, apology tour. Item 2 is blank. They don't know what comes after surrender. Because outside those walls, the revolution has a new uniform. And it's the exact number they swore she couldn't wear. Little girls who never touched a basketball are falling asleep clutching that number like a nightlight against every future voice that will try to shrink them. And somewhere in the quiet after the storm, Caitlyn Clark finally exhales, looks at the jersey folded on her hotel bed, and whispers to the empty room the truth the whole world already learned tonight. They thought they were teaching me a lesson. Turns out I was the lesson. The old era didn't just crack tonight. It shattered into 1 million pieces, each one reflecting a kid who will never again believe she has to trade her name for a seat at the table. And the sound of that shatter, that's the sound of tomorrow putting on its own number and daring anyone to take it away. The sun comes up over Durham, like it's nervous to be late to the party. Caitlyn Clark stands on the empt. At shoot-around, the new 22 jersey catching the first light the way stained glass catches grace. She drains 10 straight threes without the net even whispering. Every swish is a full sentence the old guard never let her finish. By noon, the official statement drops. Short, humble, suddenly obsessed with unity and honoring player identity. Translation: they folded so completely, the paper is still warm. Number 22 is hers. Retroactive to the second she walked in the door. The rule about seniority quietly dies in a back room nobody will ever name. But this isn't about a jersey anymore, and everybody knows it. This is about the moment women's basketball grew up in public. This is about every little black girl in braids who watched Caitlyn fight for her name and suddenly understood her own name is a weapon if she refuses to put it down. Every brown kid whose parents crossed deserts so she could dream louder than borders. Every trans girl who got told sports weren't for bodies like her. Every quiet white girl in flyover country who was taught ambition was unladylike. They all saw one woman say the sentence they were never allowed to say. I belong here exactly as I am. And the ripple is bigger than any scoreboard. Coaches who spent decades demanding gratitude as payment now have to look players in the eye and ask, not tell. Sponsors who only cared about marketability suddenly discover conscience is good business. Parents who never watched women's sports are glued to screens because their daughter asked them to. The league's next television deal jumps another 100 million overnight because networks finally admit the future has a face and it isn't waiting in line. Caitlyn doesn't gloat. She never does. She just laces up, hits the logo 3 in warm-ups like punctuation, and tells the first reporter, brave enough to shove a mic in her face, the only line that matters. I didn't fight for a number. I fought for every kid who's ever been told some part of them has to. In the car, if they want to come inside. Turns out when you let people bring their whole selves, the whole world shows up to watch. That quote is on t-shirts by Sunset. Years from now, historians will argue about the exact minute women's basketball crossed the Rubicon. They'll settle on the moment Caitlyn Clark put on 22 in a gym full of people who swore she couldn't. And the building didn't burn down. It lit up because real power isn't taking something away from someone to prove you can. Real power is refusing to let them take it in the first place. She didn't just keep her name that day. She handed every single one of us permission to keep ours. And somewhere, right now, a little girl with a too big jersey and a too big dream is practicing her crossover in the driveway, whispering to the night like it's a promise. They're gonna have to take this from my cold, dead hands. That's the sound of tomorrow, cashing the check Caitlyn Clark wrote with nothing but courage and 2 digi. We're back. That's the sound of America finally learning that the most patriotic thing you can do is let people be exactly who they already are. And that sound, it's never going quiet again. So here we are, at the end of the week that changed everything. And Caitlyn Clark is still wearing 22. Not because they graciously allowed it, because she never gave them the choice to take it away. That's the whole story, loves. One woman, one number, one quiet refusal that sounded like thunder across every gym, every classroom, every dinner table, where someone is still being told some part of them doesn't get to come inside. This wasn't about a jersey. This was about whether the future has to ask permission to be itself. And the answer, loud enough to rattle rafters from Durham to Dakar, was no. So look at your own chest right now. Whatever number, whatever name, whatever pronoun, whatever shade, whatever accent, whatever dream they told you had to wait its turn, touch it, feel it. That's why. Caitlyn just proved they can never make you trade it for a seat at their table unless you hand it over yourself. And we don't hand over anything anymore. If this story set your soul on fire, do what the revolution always does. Pass the torch. Smash that subscribe button so hard the algorithm feels it in its bones. Turn on notifications, because we are never again letting these moments happen in the dark. Drop your own. They tried to take my tech thing, and I kept it anyway. Story in the comments. I read every single one. And trust me, the algorithm is scared of what happens when we all start talking at once. Like this video so hard, it trends harder than the apology tour USA Basketball is currently sweating through. Share it with the group chat that needs to remember who they are. Send it to the little sister who still thinks she has to shrink to belong. Post it where the gatekeepers can see it, and remember what happened the last time they tried to rewrite someone's name. We're not just watching women's basketball anymore. We're building the world where every kid gets to walk in wearing exactly who they are, and nobody gets to hand them a 17 and call it tradition. Caitlyn started it. Now we finish it. See you in the next one. Same time, same fire. Until then, keep your number. Keep your name. Keep your whole damn self. The court is big enough now.